All right, so we took a little bit of a break. So if in the video there's like a splice or something, just that's what happened. We got a couple of drinks, stretched our legs, and now we're back.
A little spice.
Yeah, it's still, well, no, it is lunchtime. It's happy hour.
It's Friday. I don't work
And
on
it is a
Fridays.
Friday.
Yeah.
I don't work on Fridays. We were talking on the break. I have these options of what to do and how I've chosen to run, because the quality of life for me is so much more important than how big can I get,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
If I advertise, well, now I've got 50 employees. Now I have 100. Now I need to do all, and I want Fridays off.
Right.
So our employees paid Fridays off. We don't work Fridays because nothing happens between 10:30 and 12 on a Friday, and it's like 2 emails. Have a good weekend. Next week, let's hit up.
Yeah.
Nothing happens, right? And I don't want to be stressed. I want to have the day off. Like, let's just work hard for 4 days.
Yeah.
Let's just do our job, and then Fridays are off. Like,
Yeah.
and your birthday's a day off. Do not come. It's a payday. Do not come to my office on your birthday. And my dad told me that.
I love that.
No, he has his own medical practices, and I must have been 10, and he stayed home. Like, he worked. We never really saw him, and he worked so much. And so he was home, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "It's my birthday." And I go, "What do you, but why aren't you at work?" He goes, "It's my birthday." And he's like, "It can wait. Today's my day."
Yeah. That's
Right?
beautiful. I love
And
that.
I go, "Wait, can I do that for school? Like on my birthday, skip school?" He goes, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
So since I was about 10, right, I have never worked, gone to school on my birthday. My employees don't. My kids don't. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want you. I don't, like, do you. It's
Yeah.
your day.
I love
Like,
that. I'm
yeah.
stealing that. I'm going to start implementing that for my life. I think that's a beautiful
And that's
is.
your day.
Yeah.
That is your day to celebrate your life.
Yeah.
Don't make anybody else decide for you what to do.
I'm with you on the Fridays. Like, I've been doing that for a long time. I think that for me, for my mental health, I use my Fridays to do stuff like this. This, as my therapist says, this is self-care. Like, this is self-care.
To do what you want. Fridays,
Yeah.
like you, I will decide
Yeah.
if I'm going to do something on Friday.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody else to decide.
Right.
But to balance it out, I also say success happens on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? We were talking before about how to prevent situations from happening. And if you want Friday off, know what it takes to be able to take Friday off.
Right.
Which for me, on success happens on Sunday. I will spend maybe an hour, hour and a half getting ready for the week.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody wants to work on Sundays, but that hour and a half
Sure.
getting ready for the week gets me so much further ahead that I'm able to take Friday
Right.
off.
I used to, before I had children, I used to work every single Saturday. I had open office hours on Saturday for my clients because most of my clients work during the week. And I hated the idea of them having to take off work to come meet with my client, with their lawyer. And this was before Zoom was a big deal, before COVID, right? And what we do specifically in my practice area, I'm very old school. I like old school papers. Nothing, I have my digital and virtual Dropbox, but like the connection with the human being in person is so different. COVID forced us all to kind of get better at it. So I appreciate that because now most of my client meetings are via Zoom and my clients appreciate it. But pre-COVID, we did a lot. So I worked every Saturday and I would use that time to, and I enjoyed it.
So did my dad, and I never saw him. But that's the thing.
But that was before kids, right? So for me.
No,
But for me, I'm saying, yeah.
For you, yeah. But the influence it has, well, you didn't have kids, I guess.
Right, I didn't have kids then, so I don't do that now.
Yeah.
But I would not work Fridays. I would use my Fridays as my day, and so I would make up for it by going in on Saturday. So unless I have to be in court in person, I'm usually running errands on Fridays, meeting up with friends, having a lunch, doing self-care, doing this. Even last week I went to my friend's law firm, and I took that and I just went and enjoyed a couple hours working at her firm, So Every Friday is kind of what I want to do and how I want to do it. And that's helped me tremendously to set me up for the week ahead, to set
Yep.
me up for the weekend of solo parenting and birthday parties.
It's a lot.
You brought up solo parenting
Yeah.
without getting too deep into it, but since we're segueing into mental health, you
Yeah.
had an episode on mental health last week. I myself, it's a topic close to my heart. I
Same.
struggle with it. And so I wanted to ask you, Manal, do you go to therapy?
Yeah. So after my husband passed away, he passed away very suddenly in April of 2023. Shortly after, I started seeing a grief counselor, and to really help me process. I was also 5 months pregnant when he passed away. So I had, and I had a 19-month-old. So I had a lot to juggle, and I had a successful law firm and employees. And so I started my therapy journey then, and I have been consistently going pretty much every week. I've switched therapists. So I had the first therapist for about 6 months, and then I felt like I got to the maximum I could get out with her. I did take a little bit of a break for a few months, and then I found this new one. I researched and then found her, and she's wonderful. And she does grief and trauma and parenting, which is just for me equally important as me processing my grief and trauma from my husband's loss and then raising my children alone and entering into the workforce. Parenting is so important. It does not come naturally to me. As much as I wanted to be a mother and as much as I love being a mother, the parenting approach is not something that I was well equipped for, because I'm very much of the mindset of like the gentle parenting approach, but that just doesn't work with my kids. They just my 3.5-year-old Jude is very, very defiant and inquisitive. He's very smart, and he asks a million questions, which I love. And I am very patient with him asking questions. I do pat myself on the back for that. I answer every question he has. But it's demanding and it's taxing. And he loves to push buttons, and he's learning about emotions. And he's very much a toddler and 3.5-year-old. And he's so big for his size. So it's like you forget he's only 3.5. He looks like he's 5. And but yeah, so she's really helped me learn the tools that I need to be a better mom, because this is the first time he and I are both doing this. But holy crap, I have like 40 years ahead of him, right?
Yeah.
He's brand freaking new.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to. So really, it's not training him; it's training me.
And I don't think it's an age thing. Obviously, at his age, it's an age thing. But there are some clients that one of my most brilliant clients was one of my first clients. He did family office. He represented the Vanderbilts, the Carnegies, the Candlers who own Coca-Cola. So, and family offices, business, estate, corporate, like anything related to. So no one, it's inherited wealth for generational wealth, right? And so cousins, nobody could make a decision without going through him, right? And brilliant. And he must have been, I don't know, like 70, right? He was older and he had a younger partner. And he started asking me these questions about, how to deal with emotions and what to do. I was like, you're just now asking yourself these questions on how to cope and how to handle these things. And you're in your So people, you could be 40 and not know how to handle things.
I'm so happy you just mentioned that anecdote, because one thing that I've been struggling with, you guys met Holly earlier. I recently started talking to Holly, and she put me on to this path about, she saw the questions that I had, or like the issues that I had that I needed to address, to kind of fix. And one thing that I had shared with her, I was like, I'm embarrassed that I feel like this is something that I should have done in adolescence. when you're like 12, 13 years old, you figure these things out, not in your 40s.
No.
People don't. Like, when kids are born as parents, they don't come with instruction manuals.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know if they're screaming them, like, oh, turns out this is what colic is.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea what
Yeah.
colic was, right? But then even as a human, like, I've been going to therapy every Friday at noon. Well, obviously today.
Today.
Sorry that this is evergreen content. But because, as much as I read, as spiritual as I am, as aware as I am, right? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy for me to tell other people what to do and see the path for them.
Right.
But to see the path for myself on some of these issues, I can only read so many books. And to be able to just, hey, can you help me call balls and strikes on this? Or can you just, like, let me just bounce this idea off of you, and how should I handle it? Right?
Yeah.
And so it's not like he tells me what to do. It's more of, have you thought of this? Or why don't you try this?
Right.
And so I think it's weird that there's this negative connotation about it, because it is so, I think everyone deals with it. I think COVID, the first year, really brought it out, but it was the second year of COVID that I think destroyed a lot of people.
Mhm.
But this is like by COVID, right? Like, so like before 2020,
Yeah.
this was an issue.
Absolutely.
And now it's even worse. And so I've been doing this since 1997. So my clients are lawyers, right? It's a very stressful job. They have other people's lives in their hands
Mhm.
in any sort of way. Like estate, it's the kids' lives, right? In any situation.
Or like a significant fraction of their life in their hands. Yeah.
In their hands, right? Like,
yeah.
I was in a car accident, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm going through a divorce, whatever the case may be, and they don't know how to handle it, right? Because they have their own issues. They have all this stress coming at them. They're also probably parents, or not, like, or maybe it's a relationship thing. They have all these things, and so I see so much mental health issues with my clients. And I work with lawyers, right? I'm not calling lawyers crazy, guys. Don't get defensive.
Well, we are.
But it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's like, growing up with doctors, that's a whole nother level of ego compared to lawyers. Like, everyone thinks lawyers have egos, but imagine growing up with doctors. We were talking about discipline and your
Yeah.
Persian parents. Like, try my parents. Nicaraguan first generation. Like, it's so hard for them to just be like, hey, I'm confused. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, and they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
Right? And it's,
And we have to remember, like, I was raised kind of in a children are to be seen
Not
and
heard.
not heard
yeah,
Yeah.
there's no
environment,
emotion.
because culturally I think that's what our parents knew. My parents were immigrants from Lebanon and had kids young. I was born in Canada, and then we moved to the US, and my father is an engineer. He's retired now, and
But the train comes from Alabama.
but so I was raised in that world, and I don't believe in that for my children. I mean, my house is loud, it's chaotic, it's messy. I wouldn't want it any other way. It is very different than the way I was raised. At the same time, I was, spanked. I was yelled at. I was spoken to very sternly, and if you were too loud, you got shot down, and it was ingrained in us.
Yeah.
I don't practice that with my kids, but yet I kind of expect them to be obedient. And that's like,
You have to teach it. Like, so
right.
what I think, so one of my best compliment testimonial things was, he's calm but authoritative,
Yeah.
right? And so that's how I am with my kids.
Yeah.
Mason had his birthday party, and everyone was there, and he goes, my dad is super cool, but when he says it's time, right? And so, and that's the thing. It's like,
Yeah. But how old was Mason when he got to that point?
So Mason's 13. That was probably when he was 11. So Mason is like yours. So my nickname growing up was Culo Loco, which in Spanish is crazy ass. All right. So everyone called me like Culo Loco, Culo Loco.
By the way, I'm pretty sure after this episode, everyone's gonna call.
Yeah, call me Culo because I am Culo Loco. And I think that's what people like about it, right? And then Mason was born, right? So Darius was first, and then we had Mason. And I thought we were done before Ella Grace, and then Mason was born. And the minute like he's, the first 6 months they don't really do much, right? It's more of a
Yeah, they're just there.
They're just kind of there. I might have another kid because now I know what Culo Loco is. Mason is the most Culo Loco. He is like,
Yeah.
I mean, and it blows me away.
See, that makes me so nervous because Jude was my first. And, they say those second borns, but Jude was already Colo Loco and now Giovanni is even worse. Like Giovanni, I have a very steep driveway. He rode his Superman car down the drive. This is my 20-month-old.
Oh, wow.
I caught him halfway through and saved him from he would have catapulted. Like it was bad. And he was laughing hysterically, thought it was the funniest thing in the world. This just happened 2 days ago. And I carried him up. And this little shit takes the cart and is positioning it to do it again. And I have one of those retractable gate things at the top of my driveway to keep balls and stuff from falling, keep the kids from. And he threw the biggest fit because I pulled it out. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, you cannot ride down the driveway in this you're 20 months old. Calm down. And so that is my buttons that I don't know how to handle these behaviors. I don't know how to handle this craziness. And so when I literally my appointment with my therapist on Wednesday this week, half of it was about my childhood trauma and the other half of it was about my kids and their impulse control issues and how to navigate that.
So here's the other thing that I didn't realize so the reason I went through therapy was, of all the things I was going through, I had an issue. I did not want my children to be a product of divorce, right? My parents were still married, right? So if at whatever age you are, I promise you, when you meet somebody, at some point in time, and relatively soon, they're going to tell you that their parents were divorced. Mm-hmm. You always know. And for me, I never understood that, right? My parents were always together. And I never, because it was clearly traumatizing. My parents divorced when I was 7. My parents divorced when I was, my parents, you will know when somebody, and I never wanted to do that with my kids. So I could research all I wanted about how to self-awareness, how to give advice, but I had no idea how to decide the trauma I'm about to inflict on my children.
Yeah.
Versus, because Ella Grace would say, how come we're only a family of 4? How come we're not a family of 5? Or when are you done with this house and moving back? And I don't know how to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
And so what I went was kind of how to deal with this, because I didn't want my kids being and the guilt that I feel that we're both equally responsible for what happened, but as parents, there's guilt, and this is the trauma that we've created for these kids. That I promise you, I've met so many people that are like, my parents divorced went, and it caused something else so I've created this other trajectory now in their life.
Right.
What about the people have you met enough people that say, my parents should have been divorced, and that trauma that it caused that they didn't?
My parents should have been divorced.
I think that's...
My parents should, we talked, they should have been divorced. They were together almost 60 years, right? We always said they should have. But when my mom passed, I learned this new level of love from my dad that I never knew before, right? And I was like...
Was it that he couldn't be himself?
It was more No, so he was a total dick growing up, right? It wasn't until like we all left and he started being cool,
Yeah.
right?
Seems pretty masculine patriarch.
And a
Hard,
doctor,
hard.
like you have like
Yeah.
no, like
So many layers.
there's and like my brother and sister are professional athletes, there was, and when you're first generation you have that obligation of,
Right.
because he was born in a mountain village in Nicaragua of 1800 people, like no paved roads, no lights, right? And like he became a doctor in the United States and had us in San Francisco. Like we have an obligation, like we better not fuck this up.
It's like Middle Eastern parents and their expectations as well from kids.
Yeah.
Very similar.
So they should have been divorced, right? Because it caused a lot with the kids, right? But they also loved each other in a way that I didn't really like. It was such a like higher level of love, that just how he cared. It was just, so maybe they shouldn't. You never know.
Yeah.
Did you? I'm sorry to interrupt. Prior to the divorce, did you do therapy then, or did you start therapy after?
No, I started before.
Okay.
So, because we had quasi been separated for a while, like I was living in an apartment, and it was upcoming, and then a client saw me at a game, and he's like, "You look like shit," and I'm like, "Well, I've been faking it for a while," and he goes, "You need to go talk to this guy," right? He goes, "It's okay. I see him too," right? And this is a very smart lawyer, right? Like, it's like, it's okay. And for me, again, it's hard to ask somebody for advice. Even though I like to ask because I like other people's perspective, my job is to give advice. So it's weird to go and say, tell me what to do, when everyone comes to me and says, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Right. But this was a riddle I couldn't fix. So I was like, if we end up going and getting a divorce, right, I don't know how to handle this. Right. So I saw him probably 2 years before we filed. Right. And so for 6 years, every Friday. Right. So I saw him before on how to kind of like, listen, I'm going through this and I don't know what the answers are. And I don't want to do this with the kids. And I need coping skills of dealing with this guilt that I'm about to inflict on my kids, right? The ones that they're my favorite toys or my favorite thing to do. Like I love spending, like they're my favorite things and I'm about to fuck them up.
Yeah.
And how am I going to cope with that? Right. But then we got divorced. Right. But I started seeing him before.
Yeah.
Manal, how about you? Were you in therapy prior to your?
So I did therapy one time before for a short period of time when I lost someone very close to me. One of my closest friends passed away, and it was by suicide. So that was, very traumatic. And so I did seek some counseling. That was in 2010. And then when my husband and I met, we were rushed to get married, and so we actually did marriage counseling for about a month or so before we got married. And it wasn't because there was a problem. It was like, hey, we want to make sure we're covering all the bases and making sure we've addressed things and talked about everything and anything that we need to do before we actually do this. Because we got engaged and married within 3 months of meeting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was very quick, and I'm happy we did that. It was great. It opened up lines of communication. My husband and I were very different. We were absolutely yin and yang. But we're just very different types of communicators. I'm an extrovert. He was more of an introvert. He's a fix it. He's a Mr. Fix It, and I'm like, nah, I need a minute.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna say things I'm gonna regret. I'm a fighter. He's a lover. So it was just like we meshed very, very well together. So doing that premarital counseling was really so we could understand each other's communication styles and make sure we covered all the bases of because I believe I did very little family law work when I was still a paralegal, and I always believed that people got divorced for sometimes really stupid reasons, but In fact, people got married for even stupider reasons.
Correct.
And so I wanted to make sure we were not getting married because we were in love. Like, it just wasn't me. And so obviously, we were rushed, so we did it, and it was great counseling. It was very good for us to process each other's emotions and how we receive love, how we show love, and
That's
it's
so
beautiful.
this is the big in any sort of relation. Like nobody ever talks because we grew up. Nobody's allowed to communicate. Nobody's allowed to talk about feelings.
Right.
Right? And you're always stoic.
Yeah.
Right? So we lived in that
Yep.
world, right? And the problem is everyone has the feelings. Like, I don't care how cool you could be, whomever.
Yeah.
Everyone has feelings, right? And everyone makes assumptions
Yeah.
because they get in their head. They're like, oh,
You create a narrative.
you create this narrative
Yeah.
in your head of assumptions, which should never, like, you need to stop yourself, right? But everyone has these feelings, everyone has these assumptions. The challenge is being able to communicate it in a receptive way,
Yes.
right? Because what people do is they have the feelings, they have things going in their mind, but then they don't communicate it,
Yeah.
right? And you can communicate it to somebody else, like a therapist, to give you perspective, or with your partner or with whomever. Hey, this is how I respond to things.
Yeah.
This is a trigger for me.
Yeah.
And not be afraid to talk about your
Especially with your
feelings.
partner. And that's why it was so important for us to do that, because this is my husband. Like, this man I want to be with for the rest of my life. I want to have a
Your baby
family
daddy.
and my baby daddy, So like, I want to set us up for success. And that was, it was important because at the end of the day, I'm very traditional in my values when it comes to relationships and marriages. This is my person. This is the one all be all. This is the most important figure in my life. And anything I do affects him. So I need to make sure what I do is affecting him in the right way, and vice versa. And so that was really beneficial for us. And then, after he passed, I started all the counseling, and I'm still very much processing his loss and the grief and the things and the triggers. I mean, it's still only 2 years.
It's fresh.
It's
Yeah.
still very, very,
Yeah.
very fresh. And not only that, but I have babies. So I remember him every single day already, but then add on to it
Yep.
my children, every time. Like, yesterday was the end
And
of,
your own practice.
and like yesterday was Jude's end of year party at school, and I'm like, oh man, Mark would love this. Like, he would just love to be here. I mean, anything. Even today, this morning, Giovanni decided he wanted to just like suck on my cheek. I'm like, what? Because he's a toddler, and he thought it was hilarious. And I'm like, these are things Mark doesn't get to see and feel. So that is a lot of survivor's guilt that is tied in.
Yeah.
And so therapy has been my main focus of good therapy when I started, and it still has shifted, but the main focus has always been, I need to make sure I'm the best I can be for my kids.
Yeah.
And
So Gandhi said nothing goes right on the outside if nothing
Yeah.
is right on the inside.
that's so true.
Right?
So
And
true.
so if you can't get yourself right and deal with the things and not be afraid of just, I understand this happened to me. I need to figure out how to process this and move on so that I can take advantage of this life that I've been given
Yeah.
and live it to its fullest. But if I don't deal with these things, they will continue to pop up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And so it's okay to, everyone's going to have these things happen, right?
Yeah.
But so to be able to say, if I'm not my best self, then I'm going to be the worst boyfriend. I'm going to be the worst husband. I'm going to be the worst father. I'm going to be the worst friend. I'm going to be the worst employee, whatever it is. But nothing goes right on the outside if things are right in the inside. So if you're feeling like, why do I keep hitting these brick walls? Because again,
Inside.
you have
Never
these
fixed it.
feelings
Right.
and you're afraid to communicate it or share it. But
Yeah.
guess what? Everyone has them.
On the professional level, I mean, most of my clients at some point in our defense of their case, especially if it's like a DUI, you're gonna have to do an alcohol and drug evaluation. And most of them, it's just you have to do it. It's an evaluation. And then if there's any substance abuse issues, counseling or treatment can be recommended. For the most part, first lifetime offenses, there's no further treatment and you're done. But I have a lot of clients equally who are, needing something, whether it be substance abuse, but most substance abuse issues stem from a mental health issue.
Right.
And that's what the root of the problem is. And mental health counseling and treatment is so important. And unfortunately, our world and our society is still very taboo to a certain degree. I think it's starting to become less taboo, but also on the other side, I feel like it's almost starting to become like an excuse and like a cool thing. And it's not. It's sad because there's a lot of mental health issues that go undiscovered or undisclosed because it's like, well, that's just life.
Right.
But
But
also
what are we trickling? There's like it's a when you throw a rock in the pool, what are the ripples? There's
the ripple
ripples.
effect.
There's
Right.
ripples down and down and down the line.
But just
forever.
because somebody's like famous or whatever, like I know people that the last thing I would have expected out of this person was to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And it was like so the Kobe Bryant thing like still messes me up that he's dead, right? But that was an accident,
Yeah.
right? And you would never expect a Kobe Bryant to commit suicide,
Yeah.
right? But I've known same sorts where it's like I would have never expected this
Yeah.
person was going through all this, that this was their only solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
But like the conversation, the universe has a way of giving you signs that I got connected
Yeah.
the other day with my friend about another friend
Yeah.
that it was like for some reason the universe told me to reach out to you, right? And so then I reached out to the other person and it was like it takes a village.
This helped me. Like, this is something that I've been mindful of and from when you told me, and I would use it as a tool for me, and then I want you to explain what it is. But for me as a tool, if I felt like I was getting anxious or stressed about something, I would literally set a 12-minute timer on my phone and let myself feel it, and then at 12 minutes, I was done. And I was trying to put that into practice. So to allow myself that time to process, and that has
So
helped
I live in
so much.
12-minute increments, right? So when I started, so I just turned 51, right? And somebody just
That's
called me,
unbelievable.
somebody
That's
called
so unbelievable.
somebody just called me 34 last night, right?
I would say 39.
But still, right? At least we're still in the 30s. I got 38 last week. But imagine me 27 years ago. I looked 12.
Yeah.
And so in order to feel with a creative writing degree, not a JD, not an MBA, right? So in order to feel like, hey, you should listen to me, I would make up little phrases and say, my dad used to tell me this. My granddaddy used to tell me this, right? Just because that way it was like, no, my dad, the doctor.
An older person.
An older,
Wiser person.
a wiser person told me this.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would make up these little mantras and then just
Attribute it to an
to
elder.
somebody else. Right.
Yeah.
And so one of my mantras, like this success happens on Sunday. Right. Or you can't be a gold coin to everybody. I live in 12-minute increments. Right. If I can do my best in these 12 minutes, either for myself, with the person that I'm with, whomever, I'm going to try to do my best in these next 12 minutes, and I'm going to be present and I'm going to be aware, and I'm not going to think about and I know I'm going to fuck up, and I know every 12 minutes, I'm not going to get them all right. Right. But if I can just get through these 12 minutes and do my best for myself, for my kids, for my clients, for whomever I'm with, if I'm going to have lunch with somebody, for 12 minutes, I'm going to be so in the moment. And I know my mind is like a sky with clouds, right? And it'll get cloudy sometimes, and I'll have these thoughts. But eventually it's like, in the next 12 minutes, the clouds will pass.
Right.
So just, I live in 12-minute increments.
So now I know if I'm going to have lunch with you, it should not last any longer than 12 minutes.
Yeah.
11 minutes and 59
How did you come up with 12 minutes?
It was a separation. Because I never knew. So the kids were young. I didn't know how to handle the kid, affecting them in this traumatic sort of way. I couldn't process that. And then I also didn't know what was going to happen, when this invisible monster, or when things were going to happen, or what mood that person was going to be in. And
Yeah.
so, or what mood I was going to be in. We're equally, right? And so what I decided was, dude, I don't know what's going to happen from the next 12 minutes to the next 12 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea. And the 12 minutes so I came from a billable practice, and we bill in
That's
point
fun.
sixes,
Yeah.
right? So this is a 0.2. I need a 0.2 for this, right? But most people don't understand a 0.2 unless you've worked in a billable,
Yeah.
right? But I'm like, this is a 0.2. Let me just, for 0.2, let me just.
I love that. That's funny.
And
Yeah.
I took it and I modified it.
But yeah,
But
so
I ran with it.
but
and
yeah,
it's-
but that's how it came into 12 minutes. I live in 12-minute increments.
From a practical standpoint, if somebody has not been on this journey on trying to seek help and get better, I know Alvaro, Professor Culo Loco,
Yeah, I like that one better. I'm changing my email signature.
you were recommended, you were referred to a therapist.
Yeah.
Right? Manal,
Mhm.
how did you find your therapist?
The first one was a referral from a friend in the area. I wanted somebody close by to my house and that had grief counseling. She was older. She was, like I said, she was good, but I kind of got what I could from her for those first 6 months. And then the second one, I actually found her on my own. I wanted to stay local to my home, close by, because if it's far away, I'm not going to go. I know myself. Accountability is not a thing. So I needed to be easy to get to. And I read her biography. I didn't really look at reviews or anything. I just went, I Googled, and I loved her biography. I love what she said about herself online and her background. She's Israeli. So I felt that cultural
I see.
connection
Yeah.
as well, which was very important with the stuff that I'm dealing with. And then she is a mom as well. Her kids are on the same age as my kids. And she has the child psychology background.
Mhm.
So I think she hit for the most important things I wanted to get out of my therapist. And I've been very happy with her. I think she's wonderful. And
I think that's important too, right? So
absolutely.
I asked
like a lawyer, when you have a lawyer.
this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So not even my kids know what I do, and I could pop quiz both of you guys, and you will say two different things.
Sure.
Everyone thinks I do something different.
Right.
Nobody knows what I do, which is hilarious,
Yeah.
right? But because it depends on the person, right?
Depends on which 12 minutes.
Right? But I always tell them, I'm like, what are your pain points? What are the 4 or 5 things that you need me to help you with, right? And you just articulated what she needed to make sure this is a right. Here are my 4 issues
Yeah.
that I'm struggling with,
Yeah.
right? And be able to articulate them,
Yeah.
and say, you can fix all 4 of these issues? Let me talk to you. And then
Yeah.
from there, it's a vibe.
Yeah.
From there, it's a vibe. If the energy matches, the energy matches.
Right.
But at least you've articulated and identified what your issues are and how you need help. That way, when you go to see them, you're like, hey, here are the 4 things I have, or one thing. I had one thing, right? Here's what my issue is. I need help navigating this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And then it depends on the vibe.
I think it's really important too for
With the vibe-
anybody seeking mental health assistance. Similar to when my clients come to me and I'm like, my job is not to find you not guilty. That's not my job. I think therapists, that their job isn't necessarily to quote unquote fix you. Their job is not to solve your problems. Their job is to really help you figure out the approach and resolution on your own based on what you yourself need. So like, I know I have a very realistic approach to my therapy. I know what I want, which I'm not going to say on this nationally acclaimed podcast.
I heard acclaimed. I heard that.
What I want, my therapist cannot give me.
Yeah.
Like she just can't.
They could just help you.
She can help me though.
You have.
You
to
know
do
what
it.
she's gonna help me do eventually? Is she's gonna help me realize I can't fucking get that. So I need to stop wanting it.
Yeah.
And that is the process. And that's what
And accepting it.
accepting it. And we are right now, her and I are focusing on this topic of radical acceptance. And I'm trying to wrap my brain around how radical acceptance does not mean approval. And it's really fucking hard for me.
Yeah.
It really is. So we're focusing a lot on that because the radical acceptance is just completely, effortlessly, emotionally, unemotionally accepting of a fact that my brain and heart cannot accept right now.
Oh,
So-
that's a rough.
Because I can't approve it.
Mira, listen, I don't know why I keep saying so.
Okay,
Mira,
it's okay.
So when I was going through all this stuff and I started therapy and everyone said like you look like shit. What's funny is somebody says you need to laugh more in your life. I'm like, what are you talking about? I make people laugh all the time, right? Like, no, you need to laugh more in your life. And so I got into I started watching stand-up comedy, right? Like, because I always did music as my unwind, and I don't like TV. Don't watch TV show. I've never seen The Simpsons. I don't like, right? And they're like, you need to laugh more.
Did he just age himself by saying The Simpsons? Like,
Yeah, at 51. I don't know what they watch now, but I definitely don't watch it. And this one comedian said something that also changed my life. Feelings are real, but feelings aren't facts.
Yeah.
Feelings are
so
real.
true.
Yeah.
We're allowed to have them,
Yeah.
right? But they're not facts.
Yeah.
We need to learn how to cope and have the skills to deal with it.
We have to live in fact.
I
We-
mean,
to live in the world of fact.
that you're always going to have these feelings. I don't care how famous you are, how poor you are, how this you are, how this you are. You're going to have feelings.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're true,
Right.
right? And so how do I cope with this to be like, all right, it's not true, but here's how I should approach the issue.
I think it's also helpful when I know it is for me, and I assume it's universal because I'm not special. But when
Yes, you are.
thank you. When you hear other people be vulnerable and authentic, and you hear, oh, everyone feels this way.
Everyone does.
Everybody.
There's some solace in that.
For sure. And yeah, for sure. And I think one of the most, anybody who's dealing with mental health issues or seeking, a counselor, whether it be a temporary issue or a long-term thing, ultimately we all feel isolation.
Yeah.
And it's
that's
just
what's
guidance.
gotten us to that point, right? They
Yeah.
feel isolated in some way. And that is the worst feeling as a human being. I think it's one of the worst feelings to have. And I know a lot of women feel that, especially after giving childbirth. No matter what, no matter who you have around you, no matter what, like there's a feeling of isolation there that is undescribable. And that's one of the worst emotions to feel as a human being.
Yeah.
And it's something that you have to work through because, like, for me, I know I feel isolated a lot, but I'm around people 24/7.
Yeah.
So it's not the same.
It's the scariest thing to me when I started being present to it. I didn't realize that I had these issues for decades.
Same.
And but now once you're aware of it, you're like, oh my God.
Unknow it. But it's such a paradigm shift. Like my whole life, I thought I don't have these issues.
Right.
My parents are divorced. I don't have these issues. What are you talking about?
You quantified, you put it all together based on divorce.
Correct. Yeah.
Weird. Yeah.
And so he's like, actually,
Yeah.
your parents were. And you became who you were because you were so isolated from everybody else. And so you had to develop yourself, and you did it with music, you did it with writing, you did it with this, you did it with that, and you did it with your personality. Like,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, this is actually what happened. And I left that session. I immediately called my sister, and I was like, oh my God,
Mm.
right? Like, oh my God, this is like, this is, and then once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is why I act the way I act.
Yeah.
Oh, this is how I prevent from doing this again. Oh, this is why this is going to be a trigger for me.
Yeah.
And this is why, because you thought you were impenetrable, but you were actually lonely.
Yeah.
Allie, have you done any sort of therapy or anything? Have you ever?
I have, but I've bounced with therapists because I know I'm not special, but I have this problem where I believe I am. And I'm like, no, you don't understand me. Your advice doesn't. You don't understand what's going on. So I've actually bounced through a few therapists, and I went with psychologists and some talk therapy, and I am actually now seeing a psychiatrist. That was because I felt physiological reactions to some of the emotions that were impeding my ability to just like live life the way I thought I should.
Or you want to?
Or yeah, that's a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
I had thrown myself to the benefit of my clients. I had thrown myself into work. So long hours, 10 p.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m. I can't sleep. So I wake up and I just work. I would come to this building. If you guys saw the office, I sort of built it so I could live here essentially. I was constantly working, and I had only recently realized that those are actually signs of depression.
Yeah.
I was isolating, but I was isolating through work.
Yeah.
But because it's work and it's productive, my brain's not registering.
No one bats an eye to that.
Right.
Right.
Did it deflate you? So the first step is just admitting and accepting.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the hardest thing for people to do. And then the next step is to communicate it. Did you find it deflating, or this isn't going to work by bouncing around? Because like one of the things I was saying is like, you need to have the vibe,
Yeah.
the person, and you bounced around. Did that deflate you from trying to see?
It did.
Yeah,
It did. It absolutely did. And then it got to a point where I thought that I had learned enough skill set. I'm smart enough to be dangerous to myself.
Sure.
Be like, oh, I understand the concepts, so I'll use that.
Yeah.
Right?
All three of us.
That was my issue was, and I feel like this is a little of what you're saying, is I always felt there was going to be this point where I was going to outsmart them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Absolutely.
That's it. They don't get it.
They don't get it.
And that's my problem. And that's why I love Neil, right? Because I will read it, I will see it, I'll see what your issues are, and then I'll attack it in a way that you don't even see it coming. And that's to my therapist.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a way to just validate that this is the person I should be taking advice from. Because if I can outsmart you,
Right.
why don't I need to even see you?
Right.
I can figure this out on myself.
Right.
Right?
But I think that's the problem, right?
It might be an ego thing.
It's an ego thing. No, 100%. And I know exactly what you're saying. But simplify it. Your clients come to you because they want you to outsmart the insurance company because they can't do it.
Or the court system. Yep.
Or the court system.
Right.
But that is not what we do. Sure, sometimes. But in general, that's not what we do.
Right.
So we need to stop thinking that we're better or smarter than our therapists who are doing what they're supposed to do. We have unrealistic expectations from our therapists.
Yeah.
Right? And we are thinking we're the smartest person in the room. And that's fine. We can think that all day long. But really, you're not helping yourself in front of anybody if you think that way. You're not helping yourself in front of your therapist. You're not helping yourself in front of your friends, your
Correct.
colleagues, your clients.
I totally understand the theory.
So try simplifying it. Like people come to us to help them, right? They come to you for your expertise, even though they could technically be smarter than you.
Yeah.
A lot of people are smarter than me. I'm not that smart. I'm just good at what I do. You see what I mean? So you go to your therapist because they are better at that than you are.
Or I'd
Period.
say it's a vibe.
Because if
thing.
you weren't,
it's a vibe
100%, you
energy.
have to have that
right?
vibe.
Like,
But you got to also take accountability for your own process and part and play in the part you play in this.
Absolutely. One thing that I learned for me is that the virtual sessions don't work.
fuck off.
You need.
can't
I
do
need.
that.
I
No,
need
I
to-
need person.
Virtual in
Yeah.
person.
100%.
Yeah.
They need to connect.
I couldn't
Yeah.
do. I had to do. I was forced to do a couple of them with my first therapist because like I needed a session, but like the baby was sick or my childcare fell through or something, and it was so toxic. I would go sit in like my guest bedroom, and I did not want that energy in my home.
Yeah.
I just didn't, and so I needed to do the in person. Like
Always in person, but
always.
like she said, like Manil said, like find your 1, 2, 3, 4 things, right? But then find somebody that you can vibe with. Like this person's cool. I actually
Yeah.
like this person.
Yeah.
You know, like we obviously have boundaries. You know, like you're not going out.
Right.
Just like you have boundaries with your clients.
Yeah,
Right.
You have to have the boundary, but you have to vibe. Like
Yeah.
I need to like you.
Yes.
Like I say, my rule of thumb is. My grandpa used to tell me this.
For real, or are you just
no.
saying it?
For real, like my rule of thumb is I don't work with assholes.
Yeah.
If I can't have a beer with you,
Sure.
I don't want you as a client.
Same.
I don't work with assholes. I say that in CLEs. Like, and so I was at this, I say that in every consultation. I say this all the time, right? It's like one of my phrases. I'm at a CLE, 300 lawyers. I'm giving my speech. I throw out my mantras. I don't work with assholes. After each speech, right, there's usually a line. I'm like, hey, my name's I work in Nevada. Loved your speech. Can we exchange information? My firm needs help, right? So the room clears, like I do that whole thing. There's one person standing in the back of the room, like, and I don't notice them, but they walk up to me, like everyone's cleared. They walk up to me. It's a former client that I fired. Go, now I know why you don't work with me anymore.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It's so funny. I'm learning a lot today. I now know why I get along with you so well. One is the birthday thing. We give the birthdays off here, but they get to choose if they don't want to use it on a different day. And then two is we won't work with assholes either on the client
It's not worth
side.
it, dude. Life's too short, man.
Too short.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone that works here to have to deal with
Exactly.
that sort of.
And the problem is what I deal with is helping law firms, right? And I'm like, you see these people more than you see anybody else in your life.
Yeah.
More than you see your kids, more than you see your like
Yeah.
you see these people more,
Like you mean the employees and
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah.
like the people you work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're your family. They become
They are.
family.
And it's like for me to dread coming to work or not have everyone, like, I'm not saying they all have to go have drinks with each other, like, and go have, like, I'm not saying they have to be best friends,
Yeah.
but I mean, you spend so much time with these people. Like, make sure you surround yourself with good people.
Right. Yeah, I agree. No,
100%. I really appreciate both of you guys coming. Is there anything that you feel like we haven't discussed, or is there anything on your chest that you want to get off your chest before we sign off?
No, I mean, honestly, I would love to do this again.
Yeah.
If any listeners have questions and they want to reach out, by all means. feel
That would be
free.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Actually,
absolutely.
on that note, I wanted to mention that if you go to the Auto Accident Attorneys Group website, that's www.theaagroup.com. That's www.theaagroup.com. If you go to free resources, there's a forum there that just went live about a week ago. If this isn't a live show, but if you post questions in the forum, not only will we respond there, but I may bring it up during the podcast. And if you submit a question, maybe we'll bring you on so that I can answer it in person with you.
Yeah.
And as far as social media goes, obviously I'm at Attorney Ali. Manal, how can people find you?
You can find me at the Chehimi Law Firm, and I can definitely share all that info.
Fantastic. The link will be in the, wherever you're watching this, in the body, there will be a link. Professor?
I'm going to say
Professor.
everyone is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay? Everyone's crazy. I don't care how cool you think you are. Everyone's crazy. It's okay to be crazy. The idea is, how do I handle this crazy? And when I meet other people, like a significant other or children, how do I translate that in a productive way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everyone, I don't care how cool you are, everyone's crazy.
And I think also, like, how do we help each other with our crazy? And,
It's a village.
and be kind.
Just-
It is a village.
Yeah. Don't work.
Because
Don't
don't work with assholes. Don't be an asshole that we don't want to
Just
work
be
with.
nice. Yeah. And live in 12-minute increments.
My,
And you're going to fuck up, but in the next 12 minutes, I'll be all right.
my guess is that people that are assholes are people that
Haven't identified it.
And
Or-
they need
or-
therapy.
Or their
And
ego.
Jesus, maybe.
or their ego is preventing them from communicating. They
Yeah.
might know about it, but their
Right.
ego is preventing them from communicating it and seeking how to fix it.
Yeah.
So you've got people who are just like, are clueless, like no awareness at all.
Yeah.
Then you've got people who are aware of it, but their ego prevents them from communicating it. And then their ego also keeps them from fixing it from happening again in the future,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is why I have a driver, right? I know how to prevent situations,
Yeah.
right? Like I can see all these things in advance.
Love it.
So same thing for everyone else. It's like, you're going to be dealing with this. It's happening. Like,
Right.
I don't care how cool or invincible you think you are. It's happening to you. Right. And so being aware of it, being able to communicate it, and then being open enough and vulnerable enough to let somebody help you with it.
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
takes a village.
It does.
It's good to know that you're not the only one feeling it.
Yeah.
Others are feeling it.
As I said,
Talk to
everyone's
somebody.
crazy. Like everyone, I don't care how cool you are.
Yeah.
Everyone's crazy.
Everyone's crazy.
Just don't be an asshole. It's okay to be crazy. Just don't be an asshole.
Well, crazy folks. Everyone's crazy. And that,
And you assholes.
if you're an asshole, please subscribe. If you're crazy, like this video, leave comments. Obviously, we're like any other podcast, we're trying to get more traction online. So your help would be
Smash that like button.
Smash that like.
Is that what the kids
That's what the kids say. Smash that like button.
Alvaro, Manal, thank you so much. Listeners, I love you guys. Until the next episode, you guys take care.
Thanks, man.
Bye.